Well, good morning and welcome back to another episode of Firefighter Friday. Today we have the honor and privilege of interviewing Jeff Cool, one of FDNY's heroes, legendary firefighter, 14 and a half years with Rescue Company 3, or with the FDNY and Rescue Company 3, retired as a firefighter first grade. Jeff, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you. I'm honored to be on the show and tell my story, tell the story of my brothers that are no longer here to keep their names alive. But when you use the word hero, I'm sorry, I can't accept that. I'm a lucky man. That's who I am. I'm a lucky man. There's a lot of heroes that their names hang on the wall of headquarters. Their names surround the footprints of the World Trade Center.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, we appreciate your service, definitely. We're going to jump right into this. So, you have a very unique story. We had the privilege of interviewing Chief D, and we want to dive into a couple different elements of your story. But give us a little background on why you got into the fire service to begin with.
So, my dad was in a volunteer fire service. My dad lived his adult life in New York, but he's from West Virginia, and he was in the volunteer fire program down there. He used to run to the firehouse as a kid and hang out at the firehouse. And my dad worked for the New York State Thruway Authority as a firefighter tow truck operator on Tappan Zee Bridge. And he was also a volunteer firefighter. And I don't know, I always gravitated towards the firehouse as a young kid. I used to run away from home, not like to leave forever, but, mom wanted to know where to find me as a young kid. I was at the firehouse. And, it was always, the little kid, I guess, in me that, chased the fire truck. And I always wanted to be an FDNY firefighter. I read this book as a young teenager called Report from Engine Company 82, a very famous book. About the South Bronx in the war years and watching everything burn, and it's just the excitement and the drive to go there. And I was in the Fire Explorer program. And when I read this book, because that's where I started out in the Fire Explorer at 14 years of age, read this book, man, I want to be an FDNY firefighter. I didn't know nothing about the job. Reading Firehouse magazine one day, and I see something that the Air Force has a fire program. And so, man, I want to be, my dad was an Army vet, and I said, and I'm gonna become an Air Force firefighter, because I knew I couldn't become a FDNY firefighter until I was 21. But I went to the recruiter. My dad told me, make sure you get a guaranteed job. Don't sign anything there.
Don't write that blank check.
Yeah. So at 17 years of age, I went in there and I had the magazine, and I told the recruiter, I go, I want to be an Air Force firefighter. He goes, we don't have a fire department in the Air Force. I'm like, buddy, look, I said, I didn't say, buddy, sir, look at this article right here. He's like, all right, so he looks up the AFSC, and I signed a delayed entry contract 1 year before I graduated to become an Air Force firefighter. August 19th, 1985, left for Lackland Air Force Base, put in my dream sheet with the Air Force. Where do you want to go? Put 10 bases down. Mostly East Coast, was hoping for Florida. Ended up probably in the coolest place that you could think of. I think they had some fun with my last name, Cool. Where do you think I ended up at?
Well, Alaska?
Yep. Yes, I am.
Yes. Oh, no. Fighting fires in Alaska, the dream job.
So I ended up at Eielson Air Force Base, which is about 35 miles south of Fairbanks. Very tough base, great base. We were the 343rd Tactical Fighter Wing at the time, top cover for America up there during the Cold War. My chief there was a great guy. Bud Rotroff was a smoke jumper back in the day. Smoke jumper, those are the guys that, they're the front line out there, in our forest fires. They, like our buddy Birdman, jumping out of planes,
but jumping into the fire.
Yeah, and he had us as an aggressive as you can be Air Force firefighter. Learned a lot up there. Ran a lot of mutual aid off base. a lot of wildland fires. Still in the back of my mind, I wanted to be FDNY, and I knew it.
Right.
I had a 4-year contract with the Air Force. I flew down from Alaska in 1987 or 88, 87, December of 87 to take the FDNY test. Flew down from Alaska to specifically take the FDNY test. Take the test. I studied a lot, just doing, it's pretty much a common sense test, but, studied a lot, doing it over and over. Flew back to Alaska, waited to be called at the same time. My dad ran into a guy that was the chief of the Stewart International Airport, which was also the Air National Guard fire chief.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of wore a military uniform there. Well, anyway, I'll get to that in a minute. I got offered a job as a firefighter at Stewart International Airport on the Air National Guard side of the base.
Mm-hmm.
As a civilian. I had a year left on my contract, and they have a program in the Air Force called Palace Chase. I Palace Chased my last year out of the Air Force, and it doubled my time in Air National Guard. Got the job at Stewart. Went into the Air National Guard. Served for 21 and a half years with the Air National Guard. Worked at Stewart International Airport for 4.5 years. At the same time, every night that I worked, I ran the air traffic control tower with a 40-pound vest, up and down, hating it every minute of it, but waiting for that physical agility test for FDNY, because it was a dual score. It was a combined score.
Right.
Got called to take the written test, not the written test, the physical agility test. Got 100 on that, which you needed. Had a 98 overall combined score. I was 1,362 on the list. It took me a couple of years. Went to the academy. I was in the best shape of my life. Even outside of boot camp, I was in the best shape of my life. I wanted this job so bad.
Absolutely. That passion drove you to make sure that it was going to be hard to turn you away, right?
Yeah, yes, sir. And I didn't know anything about the job, like one truck from an engine,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought I was going, one of my dad's friends was trying to get me to an engine company. I thought I was going there. And the next thing you know, I'm going to 19 truck. And one of my buddies that was also one of my instructors, he was an Air National Guard comrade. He said, "You know where 19 truck is?" I said, "I have no idea where 19 truck is." He goes, "You know how you got there?" I go, "No." He goes, "Well, another one of our Air National Guard buddies, Patty Vogt, drove Chief DiBernardo at the time."
Wow.
And he said, "Hey, man, we got this young firefighter in Proby School right now. We need to get him to a good company. Do you think he could get him there? And what's his name?" And I ended up going to 19 trucks. So that was my first experience with Chief DiBernardo without even meeting him. I go to 19 truck, one of the best and busiest companies on the job. A lot of the leaders of FDNY have come out of former commissioners, have passed through the door of here, chiefs of department, just some of the heavy hitters in FDNY.
Absolutely.
I've went through there and worked there for 9 years and change, and 9/11 happened. 9/11 happened, and that changed everything.
What was that like, Jeff? Knowing the history of who had gone through there, and there you are right out of the gate, and you're going to where some of the most legendary firefighters have been produced and served in that. What did that mean for you?
I was in absolute awe, being there. I was the probie. I knew, that my place was, either in the sink or by the rig or on the house watch, and to keep my mouth shut to be seen and not heard,
right.
And, I don't claim to go and, been through the war years, but, we were still catching a lot of fire duty there.
Mm-hmm.
And all I was doing was learning from the best of the best right there. And, I want to back up for a second. That book that I read, Report from Engine Company 82, why it's a fictional book, it was based in that area. So I worked in the same battalion as there was Engine 82, Ladder 31, Engine 73, Ladder 42, and then Engine 50 and Ladder 19. That was our battalion. So I ended up working in that battalion of that book that, um, made me decide to be a New York City firefighter. And that was more than anything I get asked for. And, all the names in that book, like there's some true stories in that book, but the names are changed to protect the innocent,
Right. Right.
because they have allegedly happened. Allegedly.
Right. Allegedly.
So,
Right.
yeah.
And it's amazing because, and I've got to read that book because obviously Chief D mentioned that book in our interview. So, I mean, I'm just trying to run through in my head. I mean, knowing Marine Corps history and looking at the different units that have been in some of the most iconic battles and the turning points in our history, being a part of those units for the Marines walking in, they automatically know the legacy that they're immediately a part of. They don't have to be the best. They don't have to be the brightest. They don't have to be some war hero, but they carry that sense of pride just knowing the shoulders that they're standing on day in and day out, what they're bringing to the job every time they deploy, every time they go to the field and develop their skills. They're honoring the legacy that was provided by the people that we read in history books and we taught in recruit training to the recruits. So it's fascinating to me to hear that your book, the book that you read, you turn around, and that's when I say it's a God thing. Obviously you had a passion to be a part of the FDNY. You go through, you serve in a different capacity, busting your tail, staying on top of your game because you know what your end-all be-all goal is, and to walk in and be a part of a firehouse that has produced not only all these legends, but is dictated in the book that inspired you in the beginning. I mean,
Yeah.
I love seeing it comes full circle. I love that. So,
Yeah, it was definitely a godsend.
So tell me, obviously 9/11 completely shakes the world. It changes the trajectory and the future of America and in the globe as a whole. Tell me about waking up that morning, where you were, what the feelings were. I mean, this is, everybody has a very different perspective. There's a lot of commonalities, obviously, but from your perspective, walk me through what was going on for you.
So I finished my 24-hour tour the night before. So I got off duty at 6 o'clock the night of the 10th, and I went home. Tell you when you leave the house. So you always say to the brothers when you leave, and be safe. Have a great tour. Um, we work in a job, when we say be safe, it's kind of like an oxymoron because we walk in, just like the military, we're always or law enforcement, we're always walking into danger, not looking to be harmed. But I mean, that's what we do,
Right.
And,
there's an inherent danger with everything, every call.
Yes. And so, I go home that night and, go to bed, it's a normal night. And, wake up the next day. I have two boys, and Jeff was probably my oldest. He's 23 now, so he was like, I don't know, about 5. I don't know. Is that right? I don't know. It's like he's watching the Disney Channel. He's watching the Disney Channel. I'm hanging out with him. Mama Bear's there with me. Jill, my wife, and we're hanging out. And Dylan he was born in 2000, so he's a baby, and
Right.
and a commercial comes on. So I do the typical mail thing and flip the channels because you know, I want to check in on the news because like a news junkie, you know,
Right.
and you know, I see right away, I see, you know, a plane is struck, you know, the World Trade Center, and I'm up. I mean, even before they're talking about a recall. You know, I was down here in '93. You know, not the day of. You know, days after I was there. I knew this was a terrorist attack from minute one, and I start. You know, I'm 35 miles north of New York City, approximately. I'm close to West Point Military Academy, and my wife's pleading with me, and Jeff's crying. He doesn't know what's going on, and you know, and before you know it, it's a total recall. And you know, I'm taking off out the door. I give them a big hug. I love them. I'll be back soon. And you know, the world changed before our eyes that day. You know, it hasn't been the same. I jump in my Toyota Corolla. Didn't have any gas in it because I didn't stop on the way home from the night before. I'm thinking I'm not going over to George Washington Bridge. It's going to be a secondary target. I'm going to take the Tappan Zee Bridge. I have to stop. I see another fireman. It was in my Air National Guard unit on the way to the city, and he passes me, and I got to stop for gas. And I get on the Tappan Zee Bridge, and I am on. It spans between Rockland and Westchester County, and if you look south on the Hudson River, you have on a clear day you can see Lower Manhattan, and they shut the bridge down with us on it. I'm standing out there, the state police, because they're looking for a secondary device. Why they shut the bridge down with us on it, I have no idea. But we were shut down on the bridge. We're on the Westchester side of the bridge, and I'm looking south on the Hudson, and I could see the towers burning.
Wow.
And you know, I don't know how long it was that we sat out there, and you know, it might have been minutes, you know, but it seemed like forever.
Right.
And then we're gone again, and I'm in a Toyota Corolla, and I'm going like 100 miles an hour, and I'm, you know, driving like a NASCAR race, trading paint, and I get to the firehouse, and I'm in the South Bronx, and I don't know that the engine and the truck are out. I see the battalion come out, and I'm getting out of my car, the battalion chief, because we have battalion 2 6 and I don't stop them, and they're gone, and I go into the firehouse, and I'm the first off-duty member there, but both the engine and the truck and the battalion are gone. So I sign into, you know, the logbook, and I'm kind of like waiting for everybody else because there's a total recall of all off-duty FDNY and NYPD to report to their respective firehouses and precincts. You know, we had a major loss of life, we knew, from minute one on our hands, and
Right.
they kind of like started holding us back. They put us in a staging and a mustering area, and we're standing out in front of the division where Chief DiBernardo was the deputy chief, the 6th Division, and we're standing out in the streets in the South Bronx, and there's hundreds of firefighters standing there, and I'm standing, you know, with all my brothers out there. Sorry, I'm getting a little choked up because
take your time.
I'm standing there with there's 5 Ginley brothers and their dad. Joe is he was FDNY also, and the majority of them were also military, Air Force type. They were in my Air Guard unit, and so I'm standing there with Joe and Bobby Ginley that I worked with, and their brother John was in my study group, and they can't find John. You know, they can't get a hold of John. You know, I mean, this is like initial hours. You know, maybe the first hour. They can't get a hold of John, and they know John's working. And you know, that's an emotion that's just sits with me. And the next thing you know, we got fighters flying overhead of the South Bronx, and I believe it was 15s. You know, it could have been 16s. I don't remember right off the top of my head, but you know, I'm used to fighters. You know, I'm not flying over the South Bronx, and it was just.
Right.
Surreal moment, you know, like you know, this is like, you know, this is, I already knew the world changed, but man, this is like to another level, you know. And I didn't get down to the Trade Center until the next morning, you know, because they started just holding guys back. I lost 33 friends that day. Probably lost close to 50, Post 9/11, I think we're up to it's 230, 227, something like that. Just lost a buddy back in February. His brother is the reason I went to Rescue 3. We lost 33. I lost 33 guys, my buddies that I worked with, I drank beer with, I played hockey with, and they lost 97 guys in a special operations command. We lost, 343 firefighters that day, and 97 guys in a command and a special operations command. And they were looking for senior guys to fill the void, if you will. That's kind of hard because the experience,
Right.
that's our special operators, the special operations command. Not only the fire duty, but all the other stuff on top of that, and years of experience that they had.
Right.
And Tommy Foley, he was my buddy. We were I'm from New York, but I'm a country music fan, and Tommy was a country music fan, and I don't know, we kind of hit it off that way. He worked in Squad 41, which was south of 19 Truck, and then a couple of years later, he went up to Rescue 3, which is just north of 19 Truck. And I always, we were from the same county, always hit it off, and just always a good hello. So I threw my hat in the ring to try to help with the loss that we, experienced in a job. It was one of the hardest things that I ever did. I went for an interview with Captain Ralph Tizo of Rescue 3, a Mexican war general. He just had a rack of ribbons that he just leaned to one side with,
Right.
and small guy in demeanor. But I sat there and I had to give him my whole, why take me to Rescue 3? What did I have to offer?
Right.
I gave him my whole background, all the classes I went to, my fire duty. Had a big endorsement from, I will tell a funny story from Chief DiBernardo down the road. Chief D asked me to go to the squads after they formed them. Joey was in Squad 61 before he went to Rescue 3. They formed 8 squads. I forget what year they, a little before 9/11, they formed the squads. And Chief D comes to quarters one day and he holds roll call. Chief D was the kind of guy that, he didn't come in the firehouse to hold roll call. He held it on the apron in the front of the firehouse. So we're all standing there, at attention. He does the roll call, and then at ease, and goes through his thing, and then, hey, Jeff, can I see you after roll call? I was like, sure, Chief. What am I going to tell him? He's the deputy chief. He's my friend also, but he's the deputy chief that I
Right.
highly respect. And he says, hey, Joey's really loving the squad. He went to 8 jobs, in the last 24. He forced X amount of doors. What do you think? You think you want to go to a squad? And I'm like, man, I'm in 19 Truck. I'm doing 20 years plus here. I'm not going anywhere. I love this company. I
Right.
was on my way to be the senior man there, and one of the senior men there. And I'm like, yeah, I'll think about it, Chief. Meanwhile, I'm going, there's no way I'm going.
Right.
No way, right? But, I had a call for, an endorsement, even on, my pedigree. I needed endorsements. That's just the
Of
way the
course.
job was. And so I called Chief D, and he says, hey, Jeff, what's up? I said, hey, Chief, listen, I said, I'm really thinking to go to Special Operations Command. I said, really love to go to Rescue 3. Do you think you could, call Captain Tizo, give me an endorsement? He's like, didn't I ask you to go to the squads way back when? I'm like, wow, a memory like an elephant. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I
So,
love it. He's like,
yeah.
wait a
So,
minute. Love it. So what?
so
So you,
October 5th. Yeah. Well, so now I got to go in for a night tour that night and from my interview at Rescue 3, I go into 19 Truck, and my, I had an ulcer over the whole thing, and
right.
I got to go there and act like nothing happened. I end up I was the first group of guys. There was 3 of us that came to Rescue 3. My buddy Patty McKenna, Stevie Nasso, and myself went to, we were there October 5th of 01. We go to Rescue 3. And in that time, 9/11 it's still going on. We're still in the rescue and recovery efforts.
Right.
So now I'm the new firefighter that sits at the table of 8 dead guys, and I don't mean that in a bad way.
Right.
I have to sit there. I have to prove myself. At the same time, now I'm going to schools. So I'm going to a 2-week basic rescue school, going to make myself available on weekends, to fill the rescue and the squad companies, to go to funerals, to be with my family. It was just, and this went on for 10 months to a year, going to school, going to fires, going to the trade center and the rescue and recovery, going to more funerals, going to memorials. It was never ending. It wore us all down.
Right.
But we did what we did, man, and we do it all over again. For our brothers, for our fellow Americans, and for our country.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What was it like? Because one of the things in a deployment, and I speak about this quite often, for my time in the Marine Corps, going to Iraq twice, going to Afghanistan once, whether it was 8 months, whether it was 10.5 months, we do our workups, we deploy, we focus on getting the mission accomplished, and then we come home. Then we have at least a 6-month cycle of being back and decompression time, ramping it back up, easing back into the training cycle. You've got a lot of turnover in the Marine Corps, because you've got guys rotating to different units, career progression. You've got new guys coming in. One of the highlights is the fact, one of the things that I want everybody to understand is there is a dramatic difference, that a dramatic burden that our firefighters and our law enforcement don't have the luxury that our military does, and that's that downtime, that decompression time. Now, of course, everybody's full throttle during a time like 9/11. However, every year there's very little decompression and downtime. So our unsung heroes, those that don't get enough appreciation, are the family members keeping the house going. You've got 2 kids and a wife sitting there going, when am I going to see dad? When am I going to see my husband? And get some quality time. And that wears on a relationship, that wears on a marriage, and it takes a special bond and a special team to make that happen. And for you to have the mindset of, she knows what I'm doing, she believes and supports in what I'm doing, and everything at home, she's got it taken care of. But y'all don't get that decompression time that the military does. What is that like for y'all?
So I want to say one thing, because I've seen this through my trials and tribulation. My wife she is a rock. She's my best friend. She's been through the worst with me. Mm-hmm. She's seen the worst in me, and she still gives me unconditional love. And that, and she's mama bear. She takes care. She's taking care. I mean, I've coined her that. It's like mama bear. She takes care of everything. I mean, I'm so lucky to have Jill in my life. And she's a girly girl. She's not like she's got her long nails. She got to get her hair done and everything, man.
Right.
But she'll get dirty in a minute, man. And but she's as tough as nails. My friends, that are military. I mean, my wife, I could walk up behind her and go boo, and she'll jump out of her skin. But my friends, military type, will go, your wife is, she's like a Marine. She's hardcore. And just the strength that she has. And that's part of who keeps me going and our family going. You can't do it on your own. I've learned that in life. Sometimes it takes 10 times before I'll listen to Jill, but then then I'm going, man, if I just did, and then, she's always got to say to me, didn't I tell you that?
Didn't I tell you
Yeah,
that, Jeff? I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah.
if you would have just listened the first time, this would have been a whole lot easier.
She said, "Oh, if Timmy said that or Bob said it, it would have been. But if Jill says it, no, and she's right. She's right.
Absolutely, absolutely. No,
But
that's
what we do, listen, I mean, that's, we were talking earlier about, before the show, about, you know, um, the mindset of, when I'm in awe, like meeting, a Navy SEAL, we were talking about Marcus Luttrell, or whoever, I know you guys get downtime, and maybe we don't, but, those guys, I mean, I just threw Mark. There's plenty of guys. I mean, I could tell you, like Chris Kyle. I mean, that guy just inspires me to this day. And I've been, that's the guys that that drive us. They inspire us to go every day, pick it up and go because, I've been lucky enough. I've met Chris's mom and dad and his brother Jeff.
mm-hmm.
I just tell them, like, how I appreciate what they have sacrificed, and that just does everything. And I know that still today. I mean, I talk to some of my buddies. That my buddy Mickey Comboy is another. He's a lieutenant in Rescue 3, but we were firemen together in Rescue 3. He's another guy that leans to the side with all the medals he's got on his chest.
Right.
But I mean, to hang out with. One day he was down in Virginia, hanging out with a bunch of the SEALs and back doors, hanging out in their little break area or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and we're in awe, like we're in awe, and again, that's what drives us because of the sacrifices that they make and the sacrifices that our brothers before us have made. That's what makes us go every day. It makes me tick. There's days, hey man, I didn't want to walk up a 10-story building, like, because you
Right.
knew it was going to be like a bullshit call, but
Right.
you got to do it
You still
because
got to do it.
yeah.
So
So I hope I was I didn't rattle too much in that. I'm just
no,
No,
no.
not
first
at all.
first and foremost is my wife. That's who drives me, and she's the one that keeps everything together. So, but what do they say? Behind every good man, there's a great woman, and I got a
Absolutely.
great woman.
Absolutely. And it definitely takes a I mean, a mama bear, that rock
Yep.
for you to have the peace of mind that it brings knowing that everything she's got it covered down so you can go out there and sacrifice so much. Um, moving on because we've wow. I mean, just I know this is we're asking a lot, and we definitely appreciate it, Jeff. We're sort of picking at some hard scars here, but obviously we had the ability to talk to Chief and to talk about Joey D and his legacy and why the Joey D Foundation was started. You go through the worst event on American soil as a FDNY first responder. And most of the United States won't ever be able to even come close to understanding what it was like walking in your shoes and your brother's shoes and what y'all did for our country, for the Americans that lost their life, all of the families that were looking to y'all at ground zero to be able to say you're making a difference, you're saving lives. I mean, in my mind, as a 20-year Marine, seen combat, done the things that I've done and been around the people, y'all are heroes. Y'all are the individuals that we look up to. But you have another difficult story that really changed the trajectory of your life. And like you said earlier, January 23rd, 2005, now known as Black Sunday, If you don't mind, I'd like to have our listeners really get an understanding of what happened that day from your perspective and how it changed you for the rest of your life.
Sure. So I'll try to put it into as condensed version as I can, but a fire came in at just before the 8 o'clock hour for reported fire at 236 East 178th Street in the Morris Heights section of the Bronx. And it was, we were facing a nor'easter that day. Temperatures were in the teens. Wind was in excess of 45 miles an hour. Probably had about a foot of snow on the ground. So, with the nor'easter, we already had issues. We knew responding to the fire was going to be delayed, and the wind factor. Wind is always a factor in a fire.
Right.
And so we respond to this fire in a 4-story occupied multiple dwelling, non-fireproof type, and there's 3 apartments per floor, and we started hitting snafus pretty much right away. I'm in a rescue company, so we come in and we assist the truck companies, and if something goes wrong, we're the guys that they lean on, and that's kind of be kind of weird in this one. So we reported to the chief, and the chief's like, "Hey, the fire's on the 3rd floor of a 4-story building. I need you guys to the top floor. It's this 27 truck. Help them, with search up there." We get up there with search. We're passing the fire on the 3rd floor, and it is a moderate smoke condition. Not a lot of smoke. I don't even have my face piece on as we pass the brothers on the fire floor, and we make our way up to the top floor. 27's up there. They already got the search going, and I'm up there with Captain Chris King and Firefighter Joey DiBernardo. He's Rescue Hook, and I'm Rescue Irons, and we're assisting 27 truck to search for life and property. Having a hard time getting water on the fire on the floor below because it was a frozen hydrant. So they have a secondary line that's stretched to the floor above where we are, and it's a precautionary line. They ended up backing the line down off the top floor because they had this frozen hydrant. There was also a report of a burst length. There's a lot of guys that their career was changed, because of this fire. Before I go any further talking about this fire, I don't blame any of the firefighters that I was there with this day, that what happened to us. It happened for a different reason. It had nothing to do with tactics, heroism, or lack of. We did what we did, that day. So the line was backed off the top floor, and we continue to press on to search for fire up there. They backed the line down onto the fire floor, and they think that they're hitting the fire. But there's an illegal partition that a slumlord had built in this apartment. So basically, it's a hamster habit trail inside this apartment. They threw up an illegal wall that doesn't go floor to ceiling. It runs about 12 inches shy of the ceiling, and fire is venting over top of this wall, and it's lights out condition in there. Mm-hmm. And they think they're hitting the fire. The chauffeur Rescue 3 that day seen the fire coming over, and they thought they were hitting it. They picked it up on a thermal imaging camera, and they were actually hitting the wall. They weren't hitting the fire. Okay. So the fire continued to burn and intensify. At the same time, it's starting to get a little more smokier upstairs, and we're searching for this fire. If you listen to the radio transmissions, they're online. You can YouTube them or whatever. it goes bad real quick up there. You hear, they call 27 truck, division's calling 27 truck, what do you got up there? He says, slight extension, slight extension. It's seconds later, it goes from slight extension to we have fire blowing out in the hallway. Literally seconds. So anyway, there's a report of somebody trapped on the fourth floor, and we press on, Firefighter DiBernardo, myself, and Captain King, along with 27 truck, looking for this person that's allegedly trapped up here. I have a thermal imaging camera. Captain King asked me to, look for fire, and that's what we do. We don't have to be told to do it, but he's like, hey,
Right.
and I find a hot spot on the wall in the kitchen. I open up that wall. Fire immediately starts to vent out. It's going bad real quick. You hear Captain King, with an urgent message. I walked a couple feet to my left. It's lights out condition now. My hood's, my mask is on. I pick up silhouettes back towards the front of the apartment, which is the back side of the apartment of, it's the rear of the apartment. I say backside, front. It's the rear of the apartment of silhouettes of firefighters. And I know the area egress is behind me, but I advance towards these firefighters to tell them that we have fire, we need to, fall back. So I have a face-to-face with the firefighter, and I'm like, hey, brother, we need to fall back. We got fire back here. And he says, we're trapped. I turn around, and floor to ceiling is fire.
Oh, my God.
So, we close the door to this room. I don't know how big this room is, 10 by 10. It's bedroom 2, if you look at diagrams. And we're trapped like rats in a cage. And we can't go anywhere. We got fire all around us. Firefighter DiBernardo gets trapped in a bedroom to my left. He's got fire out there. He's calling maydays. They're calling maydays in this apartment. Firefighter John Ballou, the chauffeur of 27 truck, is trapped somewhere else up here on the fire floor. There's another snafu, if you will. There's an illegal partition on this floor also that won't allow us to make way to the fire escape. They threw up another illegal wall. And these illegal walls, what they're doing, they're building apartments inside of apartments. They're
Right.
SROs, single room occupancies. They are illegal. The only way they can be legal is if they're sprinkled and, smoke detectors. And they weren't done this way.
Right.
They were this was just to make money. And so we're all trapped here now. We cannot so the fire continues to burn and intensify, and it's burning hotter, and it just burned up and blew back down on us. And that's when it cut us off. So Mayday after Mayday is transmitted, and Lieutenant Myron of 27 truck, Firefighter Stolowski, and Firefighter Brendan Cawley, which was a probie. His brother Michael died on 9/11. He's a probie, and I believe this is his first or second fire. Are trapped in this apartment, and I'm trapped they're at one window, and I'm trapped to the left of them at another window, and Joey's trapped to the left of me in another bedroom in a window. And then John Ballou was at another window up there that he went out. And, speculation to which window he went out, but unfortunately, John went out the window that day, and he made the supreme sacrifice. He fell about 50 feet to the ground below. It was a 4-story building, but it was 10 feet below grade entrance into the building there.
Right.
So you would actually walk down a set of stairs to come in to the basement level. He fell down into that area. Lieutenant Myron went out the window next to the right of me to show Stolowski and Cawley how to go out. He hung there before he dropped. He also was killed that day. Firefighter Cawley went out next, fell to the ground below. I know Chief DiBernardo's told it in his podcast that you talk about, I don't know, if you believe in, God, divine intervention, angels, whatever. But, I've heard, Michael was there with him that day, and Brendan survived the impact, but still catastrophic injuries. Firefighter Stolowski went out next. He got hung up on his alligator clips on his Scott Air Pack. He's hanging upside down on a child guard gate. Before he let go, and down to the ground he went. Catastrophic. I would say, guys were killed that day. I will not take anything away, but guys that survived. Gene Stolowski had the worst injuries. He had an internal decapitation. Less than 5% chance of walking and or living. Survived that day. Major. I still play golf with Gene, and unfortunately, he's career-ending injuries. He's a mouthpiece for FDNY right now. He's in a light duty position. Great guy, great inspiration. A guy that I lean on.
Absolutely.
I'm at now. I know. Again, I'm trying to condense this. I'm at the window, and I get pushed up onto a window air conditioning unit, 5 stories above the ground. A thing that is probably hung in by a screw, and I'm on top of it, 5 stories above the ground. Joey's trapped to my left. I got fire blown out over my head like a jet engine, and Joey and I had this quick conversation. Again, Mayday after Mayday's transmitted. The 2-sided rescue approach is happening. They're setting up a life-saving roof rope evolution on a roof. Time is becoming of the essence, and I tell Joey I got a rope, but I got nowhere to tie it off to. Joey says, "Throw me the rope." I'm like, "Joey, I'll lower you." I don't know how I was going to do it from a window air conditioning unit. I don't know. But Joey said, "You got a wife and kids. Throw me the rope." I bought this rope 6 months to the day that I used it at a trade show. Actually, my wife gave me a little bit of hard time about buying it. It was like $300. She says, "You really went out and spent $300 on a rope?" I'm like, "Someday this rope may save my life." And they took the ropes away from us in 1999. We'll go back to that in a minute. So I had this rope in my pocket that we all should have had that day. And I throw one in to Joey. Joey wraps it around his arm and stands on a piece of it. It was Kevlar webbing. I wrap it around my backside and bring my hands together and clasp it. Speculation as to what happens next. I believe when I rolled off the air conditioning unit, I came out to, we call the front side of the building would be exposure 1, exposure 2 is the left, exposure 3 is the rear, exposure 4 would be the opposite, the right side. So I pendulum out to the 2-3 side of the building. I believe when I came back in, I came right under Joey's window. I hit the wall and my hands opened up. I got the wind knocked out of me. I got down about 10 or 12 feet, and down to the ground I went. I landed about an inch, if that, from falling another 10 feet. But I credit, the heroic efforts of Joey and that rope for saving my life that day. Catastrophic injuries. Joey takes the same rope, clips it onto a child guard gate. Not a substantial object, but it's what he had at the time. Wraps the rope around his body, belays out the window. 10, 12, 15 feet, he gets down. He falls that extra 10 feet into that below grade entrance. Catastrophic injuries, I broke pretty much every bone in my body. I'm held together with crazy glue and duct tape, and that's a joke, but it's literally what it is because I have no screws in my body. I have no metal. I have no artificial implants in my body. I shattered my pelvis in multiple places. I broke L2 to L5. I broke my shoulders in multiple places. My left shoulder is still in 3 or 4 pieces. I broke all my ribs. I fractured my cranium. I had a flail chest. I had abdominal compartment syndrome. And abdominal compartment syndrome is basically, had to cut me from my sternum to my belly button and take all my internal organs and rest them outside my body to let all the swelling. They couldn't do that right away because I severed both my femoral arteries in multiple places. I bled out 72 units of blood before they had all the bleeding stopped. And a normal human being, and this is all based on height, holds about 8 to 10 units of blood, and I bled out 72. So I bled out over and over and over again.
Good Lord.
It was all hands to save us, the living that day. To get us to the ER, it was the firefighter. There was a former paramedic in Squad 41 that started the triage back there. It was the firefighters, the EMTs, the paramedics, the nurses, the doctors. I had a brother firefighter sticking his fingers in me as they started a chest tube at me in the hospital. It was just, it was amazing to see what our brothers can do. Think about our combat firefighters, and I'm not a combat veteran, but what they do on the field, man, it's just that's what they were doing that day, man. It was just like, all right, read and react, man. It was like, I don't even know if there was time to really read. It was just react.
Just react. Absolutely.
And there was, we went to different hospitals. We went to a hospital that they said, I went to St. Barnabas Hospital that they said at one time that the firefighters wouldn't go there to get a Band-Aid. And let me tell you, everybody goes to that hospital now. It's like, what was it? The highest level trauma hospital. I mean, they see more gunshots and everything there. But, the life-saving effort that they did, that day, saving my life, it put them on the map,
Right.
You see them in specials, not about me, but you see them in, like those emergency room specials. You'll see them there.
Wow.
So, that was the fire, and it changed us, I want to just say something else about my wife, because I compared her to a Marine, and I don't want to downplay, any of the brothers that day, but she, from minute one, Jill did not, she's a NYPD, daughter. So, her dad was a lieutenant in the 3-0 in Harlem back in the day. Both my brother-in-law's captain, sergeant. My sister-in-law was a sergeant, so, my wife got smart and she married a firefighter, but, again, a girly girl. And one of my neighbors, a good friend of theirs, drove the police commissioner, and he knew right away, something happened, and he called my next door neighbor, and she came over and told Jill, and so Jill started getting prepared, but she never cried in front of the kids from minute one. She cried, but never in front of the kids. She got to the hospital. My head was, she said, bigger than a basketball, just all swollen up. And one of my doctors, Dr. Michelle, was talking to her, and she said, just put them back together any way you can, and I'll take them. And
it's incredible.
That was my wife. That is my wife.
Absolutely. Golly, Jeff. It's truly a miracle that we're even able to have this conversation today.
Well, and Jeff, I got to a few years back. I got to hear your presentation at Portland Fire, and you telling the story. I remember on stage, and you played the audio, and this happened so quickly for y'all, and we kind of discuss this every now and then. I'm kind of the civilian of the group. I'm around Navy SEALs, Marines, and firefighters all the time, but what y'all do and the pressure y'all are under and how quickly you have to think. Because this is just, it's one thing after another that's popping up. And I remember listening to that audio and just kind of crying in the back going I don't think civilians understand what y'all do. And what y'all have to go through and the fight that y'all have to put on. And, you have 9/11 that y'all dealt with, and then this, and it's just one thing after another. But y'all are warriors. And I know at the beginning you said you don't like being called a hero, but people that are going to run in there and protect life and property that way. I just want you to know from the bottom of my heart, definitely think you're a hero. And, I've been honored to meet you and hear your story.
Well, I really appreciate that. It means a lot to me. I just have a real hard time with that, that word hero. It's just because I have a lot of heroes, and it's just, they've made sacrifices. Joey D sits the highest. I mean, he's etched inside my heart. He is my hero. He is my boy's hero. And we're just blessed to be alive. What I like to back up to with that fire is that I was a rescue firefighter. This shit shouldn't happen to me. Right? It shouldn't, but I mean, this was an ordinary fire that went sideways real quick because of illegal walls and greed and frozen hydrants and lack of safety equipment. I'm not Superman. I never portrayed myself as Superman. I wasn't invincible. I wasn't the guy that could take a bullet and, keep going, and so I guess I wasn't the guy that was, that was going to get burned all over and then keep going or fall 40 feet and keep going, but it did happen, and people have that, that I'm untouchable, well, I'm sorry, you're not. Everybody's touchable. I was a rescue fireman, worked with some of the best in the business, and it happened to me. So if it can happen to me, it can happen to anybody,
Right. Absolutely. And you mentioned the lack of equipment, and you said you wanted to go back to that. In 1999, they removed the rope that saved your life. Can you talk to us about that a bit?
So the personal safety rope was that firefighters carried when I came on the job in 1992. You were issued a harness and a 40-foot rope that you kept in your turnout coat pocket, and it was developed in after 1980 when one of our history fires with firefighter Frisbee and firefighter Fitzpatrick were killed in a line of duty. One got trapped and the other one went over the side on a roof rope to get him. Well, this roof rope that they had, they used it for a lot of different things and not just for roof rope evolutions. And this rope snapped and two of them went to the ground. They were killed. So that's where the personal safety rope came from. It was developed specifically for FDNY, and everybody carried it. You were taught about it in Proby school, and when I came on a job, we didn't have bunker gear, so we didn't wear the pants that you see us pull up in the movies or TV shows or whatever. You wore blue jeans or like these. They were called Vinex pants, a golf shirt or a T-shirt, and a long turnout coat, rubber boots, and a leather helmet. And you wore gloves, and then you had to wear this harness that you pulled up on the outside of your dungarees or pants. That was a Gemtor harness, and you clipped that to yourself. And then you had that rope in your pocket. So in the event you got stuck, you had to unclip the two bottom clips of your turnout coat to get to your hook for your harness. And you had this rope, and you would take it and find a substantial object and lower it out the window, stick your arm out the window, measure it like with the elbow off the windowsill, grab the rope, come back, take your turns on the rope, turn back out with that hand, bury it into the side of the building, roll out the window, bring that hand in a controlled manner from the wall to your backside and slide. It worked great. I mean, we drilled on it all the time. I mean, it worked. Well, in 1999, fire commissioner that I don't really like to say his name, Tommy Von Essen, decided that he was going to take our ropes away from us. There was a lot of reasons that he gave for taking our ropes away, but one being that we didn't carry them. The bottom line is they were taken away in a fiscal saving manner. They reached their shelf life. They weren't going to replace them. They were going to save about $1 million. He said guys never used them. They never carried them. They were too heavy. It was heavy on our heart. I think it's like every pound that we carry, I think this is a military study, is that every pound that we carry is like 8.5 pounds on the heart or something like that. It might not be 8, but it's a couple pounds on the heart. So there's too many heart attacks happening. We're going to take them away. Well, FDNY had 33 documented cases of the personal ropes being used prior to Black Sunday. But Commissioner Von Essen decided to take them away. So I really hold him, highly responsible for the deaths of Lieutenant Myron, Lieutenant Blue, and Lieutenant Joseph DiBernardo. And then the injuries that Gene, myself, and Brendan sustained. If we all had those ropes that day, we would all evacuated. Maybe guys would have got some burns or a broken bone. You didn't have to get to the ground. It was 40 feet. All you had to do was get to an area of refuge. An area of refuge could be a floor below, it could be 2 floors below. Anyway, they took them away from us. They cost the lives of my brothers and changed 6 families forever. It sucks. It really does suck.
Man, talking with Gene, with Chief, that was one of the most frustrating things is the fact that if you look at all the decisions, it always comes down to money, and you've got somebody that's prioritizing even when they have data in front of them saying this is going to save a life. Look at everybody that we lost that day. Everybody that their injuries prevented them from being back on the job. And anyone outside of Black Sunday, the 33 firefighters that you mentioned that lost their life because they didn't have these or that had used them, but all of a sudden you've got this void. You're taking literally your lifeline away over money.
Yeah.
But
that rope is a fail-safe.
Yeah.
So let's put like an analogy to that. That is like a bulletproof vest to a police officer. That officer's not looking to take a round in the chest, but that's his fail-safe.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that rope is. I mean, I use this in my PowerPoint is that, being an Air Force fireman, I love this, is that, a fighter pilot sits on top of a multi-million-dollar aircraft. And what does he sit on top of? He sits on top of an egress system, right?
Yep.
That allows him to quickly and efficiently bail out if the need arises. That was taken away from us, and, that's something that shouldn't happen. We spend thousands and thousands of dollars to allow firefighters to go deep into fires to save life and property. Yet we don't spend a couple $100 to allow that firefighter to have his fail-safe.
Right. And that's just, it's unacceptable. It plain and simple. It's, it infuriates me to sit here and when I have conversations with Joey D, seeing how his foundation is doing, seeing who he's been able to help this year, hearing that, this year alone, they have more departments across the nation applying to try to have the Joey D Foundation supply them with these safety ropes, these PSS systems, and the training that goes along with it. And it baffles me. I understand, especially in the very high poverty, and the city is just decimated with poverty and they're struggling. There's a whole nother conversation that leads into that. But also, you've got some of these very affluent areas. The city's not poor. They're bringing in revenue through their taxes and property taxes and everything hand over fist. And the fact that for $900, you can get the rope, you can get the training on the system, and it's going to save a life. That just, what you mentioned before, the training that experience that is lost every time you lose one of your brothers or sisters on the job or in any way, that experience is invaluable. I mean, you can't put a price tag on it, and it takes literally years to replace. And they're not going to have the exact same experiences. So, you know, it's so frustrating not ever walking in your shoes, having my own brother as a firefighter here in Rowlett, Texas, and to know that there's departments across the nation that don't look and say the most common sense. Are we giving the most essential life-saving equipment for them to go risk their life to save life and property day in and day out? You're telling me we can't make that a priority? And it's obviously the awareness piece. It's, you know, the voices collectively rising up and making it a priority in each city, in each town, in each county across the United States, and making those that serve us and are willing to write that blank check to be able to be cashed whenever the nation or community needs it, up to and to include their life. And we can't provide them the equipment to make sure that we're saving your life. It's just unacceptable, flat out. And it infuriates me. Your experiences, Jeff, you were able, after everything that you went through, after 9/11, after surviving Black Sunday, losing so many brothers along the way, you dedicated your life to going around and speaking and training and teaching your brothers from your experience. Can you touch on that real quick?
So, you know, I do it because God left me here for a reason. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, I was carrying a rope that day, you know, and had Joey by my side, a very experienced rescue firefighter, probably he was one of the best in the business, an encyclopedia of knowledge. And, all I can do is try to share my knowledge and experience that I've gained through working with some of the best in the business to try to raise awareness across the country. And I've spoken from East Coast to West Coast, North to South, telling my story that day and my brothers that day, and where firefighters are still bailing out windows and they don't have ropes. Why don't they have ropes? And sometimes meeting resistance because of money, sometimes resistance because of negligence. Oh, we live in an area that, we only have 3-story buildings. Oh, yeah, you only have 3-story buildings? Well, I'll tell you what, in 2009, we had 10 firefighters bail out of 3-story or less wood frame structures, right? Mm-hmm. 10 firefighters in 3 different cities. And one of them was a fatal, and that was in Yonkers. City of Yonkers butts right up against the Bronx. Busy department. And unfortunately, in 2009, they had, after our fire, October 2nd of 2009, they had 3 firefighters bail out of a window. And firefighter Patrick Joyce, a rescue firefighter of Rescue 1, bailed out the window and was impaled on a wrought iron fence and bled out at the scene. That's unacceptable. One, the city of Yonkers has money to spend, and they didn't do it. Again, that blank check. Mm-hmm. Patty paid, he made that supreme sacrifice. I could go on and on and on and tell you stories. I could tell you some good stories where I've seen departments buy into it. Alpharetta, Georgia, Roswell, Georgia, Jacksonville Fire Department in Florida. They bought right into it. Jacksonville, Florida, Jacksonville Fire Rescue has on their bailout bags, never forget 12305. That's how much they bought into it.
Absolutely.
That they know, and all I can do is, I could tell my story, the teardrops could fall, But until those departments actually go, or municipalities go, hey man, we're going to do this. We got, I don't know, whatever, we're going to reallocate money from here to do this. Not rob Peter to pay Paul,
Right.
but to be smart, with their budget, and right now this is the fire service evolving. Again, I told you when I came on a job, we wore the long coats, right, and rubber boots still. And there are guys before me can tell you I wore rubber gloves, and we wore rubber raincoats and everything else. And I'm not downplaying that, but the fire service evolves. And sometimes in the fire service, we're like cavemen. We hate evolution. Why do we hate evolution? Why do we hate change? I remember when we got the bunker gear, one of the senior guys, he was a great forcible entry guy, and he's like, they could put a man on the moon, but they can't build firefighting gear. He goes, get me one of those Nomex flight suits from the base. And I'm like, you just got to go with the time, and it evolves. Right. And that the personal safety system, the bailout ropes, whatever you want to call them, they're a system. They're not just a piece of rope. There's a need for them in the service, the fire service today. It's just not New York City. And, all I can do is tell my story, and hopefully, it gets in somebody's ear. Maybe it's not, the guy that writes the check, but it gets to that guy that wants to bring it to the next level. It's sad when I hear about a firefighter that bailed out a window. It doesn't have to even be in the United States. I mean, to see somebody go out a window, you think back to the Trade Center, and you see those people jump. Yeah. When fire's at your backside, man, you're not going to stay there and burn to death. You're going to jump, and it's the worst. I mean, the worst couple of seconds of your life, and then it's over, and nobody should go through that. Nobody.
No, and you're right. It would be one thing, and one of the things that we would hear in the Marine Corps a lot is, as humans, we do get set in our ways, and we do become hard-headed, and we don't like change. But when there's technology, when there's equipment that's designed and proven to save lives, first and foremost, that's where it's got to go. And it's really individuals like you taking your story, willing to talk about the worst memories that you're ever going to have in your life, and sharing them over and over and over, hopefully praying that it will inspire someone that's at that point of influence to be a force multiplier and say, this has to be a priority. Let's figure out how to do it. We may not be able to buy it 100 of them across the board or 1,300 of them instantly, but working towards it and saying, you know what? We're going to have to make other things a lesser priority, because the number one priority as a leader is to take care of those that you're responsible for. You're putting them in harm's way. They're doing it with a smile on their face. They're willing to sacrifice everything. And the leaders of those communities, the leaders of the fire department, have to make it a priority and say, I appreciate and love and respect you, your family, and everything that you're willing to sacrifice. And we're willing to make our life a little bit uncomfortable until we can provide you the necessities so you can adequately do your job and survive the worst case scenarios as they come. Because obviously, if we knew what day you needed it and exactly who needed it, it's an easy solution. But every firefighter needs it across the nation. Jeff, we want to go ahead and wrap this up. I want to thank you so much for sharing your story, your willingness to share your story. It's an incredible, inspiring story. I can't tell you how many times when you were sitting here talking, just listening in awe and having goosebumps just run up and down my spine from the things that you've experienced, the sacrifices that you, that Jill, that Jeff, and Dylan have made. And you're one of a kind, brother. There's a lot of amazing individuals that are out there serving our communities. Mm-hmm. And in your own right, you're one of a kind. And the sacrifice that our first responders make can and never will truly be able to be understood by those that haven't served and walked in your shoes.
Yep.
But what we can do is realize and put as a priority how critical it is to support our firefighters, our law enforcement officers across the country in every way possible. And that means getting involved, not just liking this interview on Facebook and saying, oh, it was amazing, love hearing Jeff's story. It's reaching out to Bird's Eye View Project and getting on with Team Alpha Kilo, becoming a reoccurring donor, going straight to the Joey D Foundation and saying, you know what? We're about to come up on the holiday season. What are we willing to sacrifice for those that aren't sitting there with their family on Christmas morning? Are we willing to say, I'm going to add them to my Christmas list and I'm going to help buy one of the personal safety systems, or make a donation to the Joey D Foundation and help cover some of the costs of the next one that needs to go out the door? And that's what I'm going to urge everyone that's listening today to go to birdseyeviewproject.org, make a donation, and support the Joey D Foundation. Go to the Joey D Foundation and get involved. I guarantee you, Joey's going to answer the phone. Joe will sit there and he will open his world to you if you show him that you're passionate about our firefighters and making a difference in their life. And you never know, it could be your donation that bought the personal safety system that saves a life of a firefighter that you never meet, that you never actually hear about the story, because it's not going to make the news because we didn't lose somebody. And that's the whole point. We're not supposed to lose somebody. We're supposed to give them that advantage in their job and be able to bring them home to their wife, to their kids, so they can go out and save somebody else's life the very next day, because day in and day out, y'all are the ones that are protecting us, that are keeping us safe. And it's amazing, the narrative. It crushes my soul to know and hear about our firefighters going to rescue somebody, going to a call, and they're meeting people. They're wearing bulletproof vests because they're getting shot at. And here we are, just remembering 9/11 like we always do. And y'all are our heroes. You go to any elementary school across the nation and sit in a career day when they're talking about, what do you want to be, Johnny, when you grow up? Billy, what do you want to be? 99 out of 100 times, there's going to be somebody in that classroom that says, I want to be a firefighter. And it's because of individuals like Joey D, yourself, and all the heroes, your brothers, that have sacrificed so much. The legacy that you not only leave for your family, those that you work with and their families, but millions of kids across the nation that will never meet you, but they've heard of your story and you've inspired them. You are a hero, Jeff. I don't care if you want to accept it or not. You are a hero. And I appreciate you. We love you. And we truly, truly are honored to be able to share your story, your experiences, and help bring awareness to the Joey D Foundation and get more municipalities and cities across this great United States to understand the importance of the equipment that you should have had that day and would have changed the trajectory of your life. But we appreciate your time today, and I'm just blessed to know you. Can't wait to play golf with you, brother. And, I know you got a lot of things going on, but definitely appreciate your time today.
Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate you guys giving me a chance to tell my story and the story of my brothers, and to publicize not only the Bird's Eye View Project, which, I'm so blessed that the Bird's Eye View Project bought into the Joey D Foundation, because it's very near and dear to my heart. And, dig deep, people, get out there, I only got $10, that, hey, $10 goes, $10 adds up, and whatever, give what you can give, please, no firefighter should face what we faced that day. If you need to, contact me, if, a brother firefighter, wants to talk with me, about the needs of the PSS or whatever, they can contact me through the Joey D Foundation. I am a board member there, and I do speak across the country. My speaking fees go directly to the Joey D Foundation. It doesn't go in my pocket. So I just I want to say thanks again. And to our firefighters, first responders out there, and our military. Just be safe, and God bless America.
I appreciate you, Jeff.
Thank
We
you,
love
sir.
you. You have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Well, we had an amazing show today with Jeff Cool. What we do here at Bird's Eye View Project, our mission is simple. It's to support those that support us, to serve those that serve us day in and day out, that are willing to risk their lives for our safety. That's why we're proud to support the organizations like the Joey D Foundation, who provide the personal safety systems and the training that truly save our finest in their worst hour, because they wouldn't be there and in that situation if we didn't call them to respond in our worst hour, in our moment of need. And they're willing to do that and pay the ultimate sacrifice. But to lose one of our firefighters because we weren't willing to put something as simple as the personal safety system in their toolbox and make it a priority is just unacceptable. So we want to urge you to get involved with the Bird's Eye View Project by going to birdseyeviewproject.org. Make a donation. You can become a part of our elite givers, not on how much money that you give, but an elite giver who's committed to the cause, to changing the lives of our veterans and our first responders by making a reoccurring donation. You can do that today. $10 is going to change a life. If you have a story of one of our heroic first responders, one of our firefighters that are out there that are making a difference, they're laying it out on the line, send us the story at info@birdseyeviewproject.org, and we would love to share that story. We would love to interview them and find out the need for that department, for that family, and how we can impact their lives. Remember, be kind to one another, love on one another, and always serve those who serve us.